Okay. Well, welcome everyone. Today we're here with well-known Catholic author, speaker, and just intellectual in general, Dr. Ted Shree. Now, I've known Dr. Shree for a long time, back from early Focus days, and you're one of the founders of Focus. I was going to say you write more books. I was looking at some of your books today, and I feel like, I was like, man, like Ted Shree is kind of like talking to like Paul McCartney. It's like, I remember the Beatles put out so many albums. It's like, I can't keep up with your books. How many books have you authored?
I'm not sure. I should probably, because someone just asked me that on an interview over the weekend and I didn't know the answer, and then they teased me about it afterwards, but it's probably close to 20, a number of different books that I've done by myself, that I've co-authored other books as well. And I love writing. That's the thing. I know I have many dear friends that, are much wiser and, better philosophers, better theologians than I am. But for them, writing is such a chore. It's a burden. Whereas my background was in communications, and I've always loved writing. And to me, like I get energy from taking time to go think through and how do you write something and how do you make it really clear and accessible to people. So for me, it's just a joy. It's what I like to do for fun.
That's awesome. It is, for me, I know it's difficult, but I've gotten out of the habit of writing now that I'm no longer in any type of school or anything. And I wish I hadn't stopped writing, because once you're writing, it's like kind of like a bike. It gets easier and easier, I feel, as you kind of keep doing it. But tell us about your podcast. You launched that, I want to say maybe a year ago.
It's been out for about 2.5 years, actually.
Okay.
2.5 years.
Time flies.
So I have a podcast. It's called All Things Catholic. It comes out every Tuesday. And it really is that. It's all things Catholic. So I cover everything from, topics about like apologetics, like why do Catholics believe this, or things about virtue. I talk a lot about the spiritual life, the saints, the life of prayer. Some of the best podcasts, at least my listeners tell me, is when I bring my wife on. So we just did one recently on unity in marriage amid imperfections. How do you maintain unity when there's lots of imperfections in me, lots of imperfections in her, and in our marriage and our family, but unity, how important that is. We're doing that on Light of Trinity Sunday. We've done things on the Blessed Virgin Mary, on the feast days of the church scandal. I just did one on COVID. I did something on should health be our number one priority as Catholics. So, I'll cover some current topics sometimes like that, but it's so fun for me. And I for years, I had people encouraging me to do a podcast. I just never, I'm busy, and I just have other things, a lot going on, 8 children at home, working, my wife tells me I have 10 different jobs, so, but I'm so glad I did it, because it's so fun. I mean, I really have people from around the world. Like I'll fly to England and I'll meet people in England that listen to my podcast, or I'll fly to Australia. I meet people there. I was in Dubai last year. I met some people in Dubai that were listening to my podcast before I ever showed up. So it's just fun to know that I love teaching, and it's a way to kind of get that teaching out and hopefully touch more lives and bring them closer to the Lord, I hope.
Yeah, well, you're very good at it. But I did want to ask you, so one of the things, like preparing for today's kind of chat, I hear a lot at my church and just different people I talk to. And a lot of people out there, they kind of think, I want to go be a Ted Shree. I want to be, and they want to be someone who's out, and can I just say the phrase, like kind of the Catholic celebrity, and some people really are kind of seeking that out, and they love the faith. They want to see people grow in their love for Christ and for their knowledge of the church. And what do you think about that? When you hear someone say, I want to go be a public speaker.
I get the question all the time, and my first response is, don't try to.
Yeah.
Don't try to. Yeah. And what I mean by that, it's not as if, at least in my life, that I set out and said, I want to have a podcast, or I hope to have a YouTube channel, and I want to go be a Catholic speaker. And, it wasn't like that. It all kind of happened. And I think it's important, and I have to pray. I pray about this all the time, because I know that, I'm out there, and, I get praise all the time. Thank you for your podcast. Thank you for your books. Thank you for your videos. And every day I pray in my Memorare specifically that, Lord, please keep me, Mary, please keep me from all of the vanity and the superficiality of that world. I know how superficial it really is. If I get all this applause for books I write, but I'm not growing interiorly in my interior life, that's a big problem. I get applause for a video I do, but I'm not as good of a husband or a father as I'm called to be. That matters more in the eyes of God and in the eyes of the angels, and my being a disciple of Jesus and a missionary disciple and sharing Jesus with others. That's central. Now, how that takes shape, in one's life, maybe, I think in my life it unfolded, and I ended up writing books, and it was making a difference in people's lives. And so I took that as a sign to keep writing. And as I mentioned, I like it. And same thing with the videos and all those things. But it wasn't so much like I want to go be a Catholic. I want a platform. That I think that's dangerous. I want to be a Catholic influencer.
Yeah.
I was just talking about this. We started our Focus Summer training a couple of weeks ago, and I gave a talk on this. And I said, a real influencer isn't someone that has a lot of followers, a lot of likes, a big platform. That's not, God, don't get me wrong, God can use that,
Right.
But that's not really, what you want to do is be the kind of person that, like, if you met that Catholic celebrity and you got to know that person better, that you actually see that there's actually a lot more there. There's a lot more depth than what you see on a screen or what you hear on a podcast, or what you read in a book. That there's, Newman talks about this. So, there's some people that seem at first glance really, wow, they're really impressive. They must be really holy. They must be great evangelists, or whatever. And then you get closer and you kind of scratch underneath and you go, oh, there's just not much there.
Right.
I don't want to be someone like that. None of us should desire that. What you want to be is more someone that, at first glance, someone looks at you and there's nothing special, nothing ordinary, or nothing extraordinary. That's how Mother Teresa was. Mother Teresa was a Loretto sister. Before she had the call to go start the Missionaries of Charity Sister, nobody saw anything spectacular about her. She was good, pious, faithful, a really good teacher. But that's about it. No one had any idea about the magnificent, extraordinary work happening in here.
Yeah.
And that's more, so when you get closer to someone, and at first glance, they just seem really ordinary, but you feel the weight of their character, the weight of their holiness. And you feel you're just more moved by who they are. That's what God's going to use. So, Father, I think maybe the heart of this question is, and it's often young people, and they're,
right.
They're either in college or early 20s, and I want to be a Catholic influencer and all. And I would just invite them to discern in their own heart, do I want a platform, or do I just want to share Jesus with people? To really honestly go before God, how much, and if there's anything in you saying, I want a platform so I can be famous or get more likes, just pray, beg Jesus to kill that in you. Right. Because that vanity that is going to destroy you, and it'll do harm for the church. Yeah. So you beg God for that. It doesn't mean, and oftentimes our motives are mixed, you know what I mean? So it's not like you ever have pure motives, I struggle with it. That's why I pray for it all the time, But I think if someone really just sincerely desires to share Jesus, their first instinct should not be, how do I get a platform? The first instinct should be, who's right around me that I can care for? So if I'm a parishioner at Lourdes, my first instinct should go, Father, how can I help you? Can I help set up chairs? Can I help teach RCIA? Can I help with, I just want to care for people. Like that, in other words, I want to share the faith. That's authentic, that's real. As opposed to, I got to get a YouTube channel and say, hey guys, here I am. Everybody does that. Not everybody is actually out there really caring for souls. And if you keep caring for souls and you find that you get invited to things, that's maybe a sign that God wants you to become a speaker. But if you're angling and trying, I got to get this platform, I got to go sell myself. That's what social media sadly has done to us. It's turned us all into products. And I would tell the young people, please don't, you are so much greater than a product. Yeah. You're a son or daughter of God, and God wants you to be like Mother Teresa. He wants you to be like St. John Henry Newman. Yeah. He wants you to be the kind of person that influences by the weight of your character, not by how many followers you have.
Right. No, it reminds me, I remember St. Thomas has a great line where he talks about how in the virtues, which you talk about a lot, but he talks about how magnanimity, and correct me if I'm wrong, magnanimity is greatness of soul.
Yep.
And how the magnanimous person wants to do great things. But he says that magnanimity is not opposed to humility, which is, it seems counterintuitive. It seems like if you're a humble person, you have to do small things. But I think there's something to that. And I think with young people, they want to do something great. I remember when I was a focus missionary, a long time ago, back with you guys, and I had this desire to do great things in life. And I think focus helped me to see the great thing you can do is to be faithful. And if you're faithful in your little corner of the kingdom, that is greatness. But it's just interesting how St. Thomas, he kind of puts those two together, humility and magnanimity. And I thought, man, what a great tension those two virtues can.
And you know what he does too, Father, as I'm glad you mentioned this, because it's a beautiful point, that he also says some of the vices that undermine magnanimity. So I desire to give my best to whatever God calls me to, the best husband I can be. I desire to be the best student I can be. If you're the garbage man, you desire to be the best garbage man you can be. Whatever you're called to do, that's what magnanimity is. But there are two vices that are in the background that can kind of be counterfeits to that. One, of course, is vanity, right? Where instead of seeking, I just want to be great and give my best, I seek the attention, the recognition, the honor that comes from being the best I can be. But in other words, it's like I run after just the praise of men, the applause, the pats on the back, the likes, as opposed to, now, whether anyone notices or not, I'm going to do this. This is the kind of person I want to be. Yeah. And if it gets me no likes, it gets me no attention, no pats on the back, no job promotion, whatever it is, that's the magnanimous man. I'm doing it for the sake of God and for what God's calling me to. Whereas the vain person is often very driven. They're driven. We're going to do this program and then do this thing and then build this platform. I'm going to do all these things. But what's driving them isn't so much like, I just want to serve God and be the best I can be. It's actually more, I want the praise. I want the attention. I want the honor, the praise of men. And you have two people look very similar, but underneath them, what's really there? And I think that's what we want to keep in mind. And I pray that I want to be more of the magnanimous man. I fail. I admit that I can struggle with this. But I know in my mind, I know that's what the Lord uses to actually really be a true influencer, to help shape culture. That's what God's always done. It's always been through those more, human beings that are transformed, the saints, that then through their holiness, they do these great things, not through all their energy to build up a platform for themselves.
Well, and I love what you said about, because I experienced that as well, of none of us have pure intentions. And I've got both in me, I want to do great things for God. And, it's like on Mass on Sundays, I really want to give a good sermon. Now, why do I want to give a good sermon? Is it because I want people to say, hey, Father Brian, that was a great sermon? That's part of it, And hopefully as time passes, more and more I'm growing towards the truth that I really want to serve Christ, and I want people to love him more deeply, and to really find what God created them for. So we're all kind of a work in progress.
Yeah, and I think the key is, am I really a work in progress? That's the key, because I think that's so true. None of us have totally 100% pure intentions. If you do, it means you're a saint. I want to meet you. That'd be awesome. But it's like, am I aware of it? Am I bringing it to confession? Am I praying to grow in humility or whatever it is, whatever, the thing is. But I think in this case, it's also, can you do some specific things to try to counter, whatever's in you, that's there, I don't know if you ever notice this. There might be some people that you just get a sense they're just selling you something. They're selling you themselves. Like they view themselves as a brand. They just got to, sign up and, follow me. And don't get me wrong. I've been at your parish and I've held up books and I said, or follow my podcast. We just talked about those things. So I think there's nothing wrong with it in a general sense, but you can tell sometimes there's some people that maybe just do it too much. And you can tell that, to me, I never want to go in that direction. It really always has to be about Jesus, and it has to be about the people, and whether I sell a book or not, or whether I get more followers, and in the end, doesn't matter. I mean, again, I want to sell books and I want to, serve in these ways, but I think when you can do certain things, maybe help to rein in some of that is a way that you're working on it so that you can be a work in progress.
Well, and I could talk about this forever, but I did want one more thing you made me think of. You're too interesting. We should have someone more boring on. so we can just but you made me think of, there's that St. Augustine talks about how Satan never tempts us with evil, right? He always tempts us with good things. And I know that one of the ways that we can falter in our lives is we're desiring something good, but in the wrong way. And I know, like priests, we can be so easily tempted to these kinds of things. And Dante, in fact, in the Divine Comedy, he has, I forget if it's hell or if it's purgatory, but he's got priests who are really doing time for their vanity and their jealousy of each other.
Yeah.
And it's just so easy. And I love Augustine's point that, like, Satan's not going to tempt you straight up with vanity. He's going to say, no, go, you're doing a really good thing. Just make sure that you look good and, you have the followers.
Yeah.
It's just a subtle thing that kind of works in there.
One other thought I had about this is another point I often like when young people ask, like, how do I, become a Catholic speaker or whatever? And I always give them those recommendations we just talked about now. But the other piece is this, is I say, you want to form yourself before you go get formed. You can't form yourself, but go get formed, to whether it's go to the Augustine Institute right here in Denver, you can go and take classes, from amazing professors. You can go online, or you can get formed and then formed.org, but you're doing something that's really forming your mind, because to just say, I want a platform, there's something self-centered about that.
Yeah.
As if like, I'm so special, I have something so special to offer the world. I say, if you look at people like Tim Gray, with the AI, and my good friend here at Focus, Curtis Martin, we all were deeply, intensely pushed by Scott Hahn and many others. And it formed us in a way that, and we all went on for different levels of further study, even beyond the master's degree. All of us did. And so that really kind of, so that when the Lord provided some kind of platform for us, it wasn't just like, oh, I'm just sharing from my own experience. There's nothing wrong with sharing from experience, but like, is what I'm offering really good? Is it actually going to help people? Or is it just adding to the noise that's out there? I might do much more for Jesus Christ and his kingdom by being quiet, and instead of just, I'll be another voice out there just because I want to be a voice. Like, what am I actually offering? Because there's a lot of, and we've been talking about this a lot. A number of us have, that there's a whole generation of everybody like has to have a platform or something, but there's not a lot of depth, and you can tell it right now, and all that we've been going through, like in light of COVID,
right?
And then now all the turmoil, with racism and violence and all afterwards, and that there's not a lot of depth of thinking about these matters. When people are losing their jobs because of the shutdown, and they're afraid that they may get the disease, or that their grandma or parent may die, when there's a lot of like fear and there's suffering out there, the kind of more therapeutic gospel message, which is where you will go to. If you don't have depth of formation, you're always going to go to God loves you, God forgives you, he's going to heal you, and you're special, and you can realize your potential in Jesus Christ. And that's all true. We emphasize those themes. It's just the gospel message also involves the cross. And there's a lot of thinking, that goes into living a good, virtuous life as a disciple. And so if all you're doing is, I'm just really good at putting, graphics together to post on Instagram, I make awesome graphics. Again, God can use that. I'm not belittling these things. It's just that what we really need people now are people that can really be lights in this time of darkness in our secular age, that have the depth of intellectual understanding to really see what's out there and really be able to discern, okay, this is part of the city of man, this is part of the city of God. You don't want this, you want this. Here's how you engage the city of man while living in the city of God. All those things. That takes a lot of intellectual formation and mentorship and discipling of your own life before you just go and you're 23 years old and you want to have a platform.
Amen. And we're at to tie this up because we're already almost out of time. But we'll have to get you on again to talk about some other just topics about going deeper in our faith as Catholics. But it reminded me, this is embarrassing, but there's a verse in Sirach that I've been meaning to memorize and I've failed. So I'm going to go right after this interview and go look this up. But there's a great line in Sirach that says, it says, the mind of the fool is in his mouth, but the mouth of the wise is in their mind.
Yeah.
And I love that because it speaks to me, because I feel like I just talk too much. right? I'm like, and people, I have too many opinions, and I know that I need to discipline that, and I need to learn, like, okay, Brian, don't run your mouth so much. Like, listen and be silent. But I just love that the mind of the fool is in his mouth, but the mouth of the wise is in his mind. Powerful stuff. Dr. Sri, it's so great to have you on today. Can we get you on in the future?
Of course.
Okay.
Happy to do it.
So real quick though, you are one of those people who has studied and you've drunk deeply of the riches of the church, and we want people to go deeper. So your website is what?
Just my name, Edward Sri, S-R-I, so edwardsri.com. So edwardsri.com. They can find me there. They can find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and they can follow my podcast as well, All Things Catholic. So.
Awesome. Well, praise God. Thanks for coming on today. And
thanks so much.
We'll see you next time.
All right. God bless. Parishioners, I miss seeing you. I hope to see you soon.
Amen.